6 regrets after moving into a nursing home. Many people believe that a nursing home is a safe and ideal place for the elderly to be cared for when old age arrives. But few realize that behind the attentive care and timely meals lie quiet corners of sorrow and unspoken emotions of those living within these 4 walls. I am one of them, and this is my true story. A journey from freedom to seemingly insurmountable restrictions, from simple joys to silent emptiness that only those who have experienced it can truly understand. Ash 1. Losing personal freedom. The silent cost of entering a nursing home. When I lived in my own home, I was used to organizing everything the way I liked. I could choose when to wake up, when to make breakfast or coffee, or spend the afternoon doing what I loved, reading, gardening, or simply sitting quietly on the porch. But all those small habits changed the moment I entered a nursing home. Here, everything follows a set schedule. Breakfast is served at fixed times, whether you are hungry or not. Bedtime is predetermined, even if you are not ready to sleep. And activities are planned in advance, not always aligning with personal interests. Want to go for a walk? You must wait for someone to accompany you. Want to change your meal? Most likely, you will have to accept what has already been prepared. Even choosing what to wear in the morning or reading late at night can be restricted by general regulations. This sense of confinement seeps into the smallest actions, gradually making me feel as if I am no longer in control of my own life. Each day becomes repetitive, and I am forced to adapt to a predetermined routine rather than living at my own pace. At first, I thought this was just a temporary adjustment. But the longer I stayed, the more I realized that living on someone else's schedule meant gradually losing my personal freedom, the very thing that once made me feel truly alive. No longer having control over daily decisions makes me feel as though I am living on behalf of someone else. A word of advice. If you are considering moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the small but precious freedoms you currently have? Because once lost, personal freedom may leave you feeling emptier than you expected. 2. The feeling of being forgotten. The silent loneliness in a nursing home. When I first moved into the nursing home, I was comforted by frequent visits from my family. My daughter visited every week, and my grandchildren often came on weekends, bringing laughter and lively stories from the outside world. In those moments, I still felt like part of my family's daily life. But then, as time passed, the visits became less frequent. My daughter became busier with work, and my grandchildren were caught up in school and their own schedules. Promises of visiting soon increased, but the actual visits became fewer and farther between. The distance was not just physical. It became an emotional separation from my family and former life. Day by day, I realized I was mentioned less in family conversations. Special gatherings and occasions that I used to be part of were now only shared with me through hurried phone calls or a quickly sent photo. Some afternoons, I would sit alone in the common room, watching doors open and close, hoping someone would appear. But most of the time, it was just fellow residents, also waiting, just like me. The most painful part is not that my loved ones are too busy or no longer care, but the creeping feeling of being forgotten. When you are no longer a regular presence in the lives of those you love, it feels as though you are slowly fading from their memories. A word of advice. If you are considering a nursing home for yourself or a loved one, remember that beyond physical care, emotional connection is just as important. Don't let time and distance unknowingly make loved ones feel abandoned. Sometimes, a simple phone call or a short visit can be a powerful source of emotional support for someone waiting behind the doors of a nursing home. Number 3. Rapid health decline. The unexpected consequence of living in a nursing home. Before moving into a nursing home, even at over 80 years old, I was still able to take care of myself. I was used to cooking my own meals, walking to the nearby market, and doing small daily tasks like tidying up, watering plants, and engaging in light physical activity. These small habits kept me active, helping both my body and mind stay strong. However, once I entered the nursing home, my familiar routine quickly changed. Everything was taken care of. Meals were delivered to my room, there was no need to cook or clean, and even walking around the facility was discouraged, with constant reminders to be careful or let us help you. At first, I felt relieved not having to worry about daily chores, but over time, I realized the opposite was happening. My body weakened faster than I had expected. After just a few months, my once steady legs, accustomed to daily walks, became heavy and sluggish. Standing up or sitting down required more effort. Muscles that were no longer regularly engaged began to shrink, and my flexibility slowly faded. I saw the same thing happen to others around me. Elderly residents who once walked and climbed stairs now relied on walkers or wheelchairs. A sense of dependency crept in, little by little. It started with small requests for help when walking, but soon, even basic personal tasks required assistance. And once that dependency took hold, it only grew stronger, making it harder to regain the independence I once had. A word of advice. If you or a loved one is considering a nursing home, think carefully about the importance of staying active and maintaining a sense of independence. Being overly cared for can sometimes unintentionally lead to faster physical decline. Health is a precious asset, and actively preserving it each day is the best way to protect yourself from the inevitable effects of aging. 4. Losing purpose in life, the emptiness of nursing home living. Before moving into a nursing home, each day had meaning. There were always things to do and moments to look forward to. Tending to my small garden, cooking my favorite meals, reading books, or organizing family photos. These little tasks created a sense of purpose, making me feel like I was still contributing and truly living. But once I entered the nursing home, I gradually realized that despite its clean and orderly environment, it stripped away these small, meaningful routines. There was no need to cook or clean. Everything was done for me. What seemed like a chance to rest actually made me feel like I was slowly losing the meaning of my daily life. Many people here once lived with passion and purpose. I remember Mr. George, a skilled carpenter who used to repair and create furniture for his family and neighbors. But now, his hands simply rest on his lap, his gaze distant and empty. Without wood, without tools, without projects to complete, he had been stripped of his greatest joy in life. I, too, could not escape that feeling. Without the small daily tasks that once filled my time, I began to feel like an outsider in my own life. The days became a cycle of waiting. Waiting for meals, waiting for visitors, waiting for bedtime, making me painfully aware of the emptiness and wasted time I had left. A word of advice. If you or a loved one is considering a nursing home, take the time to think deeply. A comfortable environment does not always guarantee fulfillment. Try to maintain meaningful habits and activities, no matter how small, to continue feeling like you are living a purposeful and complete life. 5. Loss of privacy and dignity. The unspoken struggles in a nursing home. When I was still living at home, I deeply valued my private moments, closing my room door, relaxing, reading a book, or simply sitting in silence to reflect. I was used to doing everything for myself, from choosing my clothes each day to handling personal routines like bathing and using the restroom. These small things gave me a sense of control over my own life. However, after moving into a nursing home, what once seemed natural and effortless gradually became a luxury. My room was no longer my own. I had to share my living space with a stranger I had never met before. While I was fortunate to have a friendly roommate, the need to adjust my habits to accommodate someone else made me feel much less free. What bothered me the most was the loss of privacy in personal care. From bathing to using the restroom, I now had to rely on the assistance of staff members. Though I understood they were simply doing their job and tried to be as discreet as possible, the feeling of dependence and being watched left me uncomfortable, even self-conscious. Tasks that I once performed in complete privacy now required the involvement of others. Additionally, the rigid daily schedule made me feel as though my life was no longer my own. Mealtimes, bedtime, even the simple act of going outside for a walk all depended on permission from or the availability of the caregivers. A word of advice. If you are considering moving into a nursing home, think carefully about whether you're ready to give up your privacy, independence, and sense of control over your own life. Once lost, These things are incredibly difficult to regain in a structured communal living environment. Task 6. The struggles of leaving a nursing home. A door not easily reopened. On my first day at the nursing home, I thought it was just a temporary solution. I believed that if it didn't suit me, I could simply leave and return to my old life. However, reality turned out to be far more complicated. After a few months of living here, I realized that going back to my familiar home was not as easy as I had imagined. The first challenge was my health. In this environment, with limited physical activity and an abundance of care, my body gradually weakened. Tasks that once seemed effortless, grocery shopping, cooking, or even simple housekeeping, became obstacles. I was no longer as agile as before, and the thought of living alone made me feel insecure. Financial issues also became a major barrier. My savings slowly dwindled to cover the nursing home fees, leaving me with far less financial security than before. Meanwhile, my former home had changed. My family had renovated it, rented it out, or even sold it. The idea of returning and restarting my old life felt daunting because I no longer had a clear place to go back to. Psychologically, I was unprepared for the difficulties of leaving. After becoming accustomed to the structured routine and 24/7 support, I found myself increasingly dependent. The ability to be self-sufficient, make my own decisions, and live without assistance started to feel like a distant memory. The fear of living alone, facing uncertainties without immediate help, made me hesitate every time I thought about leaving. A word of advice. If you or a loved one is considering moving into a nursing home, be mentally prepared that this could be a long-term decision. Leaving may not be as simple as you think, as it can impact both your living environment and your ability to return to an independent life. Final message. A nursing home, a decision not to be rushed. For a long time, nursing homes have been seen as safe havens where the elderly receive full care when they are no longer able to live alone. However, beneath this layer of safety lie untold stories of struggle and sorrow. The most important thing before making the decision to enter a nursing home is to think it through carefully. While a nursing home is not always a negative choice, it can have long-term consequences that may only become apparent when it is too late. You may lose your sense of freedom, the ability to decide your own daily schedule or how you wish to live each day. Over time, the feeling of losing control and becoming dependent on others can erode your spirit and self-esteem. Being away from family can also weaken emotional bonds as visits become less frequent, leaving behind a growing sense of loneliness and emptiness. More importantly, nursing homes can sometimes take away a person's sense of purpose. Without familiar responsibilities, taking care of a home, preparing meals for loved ones, or even just looking after oneself, the feeling of still being useful can gradually fade. Before making this one-way decision, explore other options such as home care services, living with family, or joining senior communities. These alternatives may allow you to receive care while maintaining your independence and connection with loved ones. Final advice. A nursing home is not inherently a bad choice, but think carefully. Ask yourself, what matters most to me right now? Comprehensive care or preserving the essence of truly living? Now, as I have grown accustomed to the long days in the nursing home, I realize that this place is more than just a shelter for old age. It is a space filled with mixed emotions. Gratitude intertwined with regret, peace blended with loneliness. Still, I hold on to hope. Hope that everyone, before taking this step, will fully understand what they might lose and cherish what they still have. Because more than anything, I have come to realize that freedom, connection, and the true feeling of living are priceless gifts that old age deserves to embrace.